Hey everyone, this is Amazing Fantasy Football. I am Josh, and he is,
I am Chris.
and Chris, he is. Today we're here to talk about some offensive lines. You might find that particular topic a little offensive to your ears or your eyeballs, but before you shut us off and you're like, "Oh, screw these guys," we're talking about offensive lines because offensive lines are key to the offense working. You know, you have a good offensive line, you're probably going to have a productive quarterback. You're probably going to have a productive running back. Offensive line protects the quarterback. It makes bigger and more frequent holes for the running back to run through, right? Quarterback
Agreed.
has more time, has more protection, it has more time to throw for routes to develop and able to scan the field. All that. These might seem all very, like Captain Obvious sort of statements, but it's true. And so we wanted to kind of go through and highlight. We're talking about 7 different offensive lines, some good, one not so good, and some not so good.
Some of the worst.
Yeah, and let's start off by saying that we are using Pro Football Focus's
Right.
rankings. So there's always that kind of like, well, Pro Football Focus, we understand is not the end all be all as far as rankings, everything. We're just using them as a guideline for this. We just decided to use them. If you don't like it, well, too bad.
There you go.
How you doing today, Chris?
I'm doing wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Looking forward to a great
Wunderbar.
show. Yeah. I'm a very passionate about personnel and off-season stuff with the NFL and as it ties into fantasy. And just to echo what you said about the importance of offensive line as it pertains to fantasy production from the skill positions, running backs. I mean, duh. Yeah, that's the first thing that comes to mind. And running backs are hard to come by in fantasy drafts and waiver wire. So that's why I think this is a great dig deep kind of show. I find as I get more and more into my hobbies and my passions, I find better ways to, dig deeper. So that's what kind of show
Right.
this is.
Yep, it's not going to be for the casual fan, but hopefully the casual fan that is listening will find this a little intriguing at the very least. So I'm going to start by this last year at around this time. It was right before free agency and everything,
Mhm.
or it was actually right at free agency. I noticed that the Titans Pro Bowler Jack Conklin was up for free agency. I was like, ooh, I wonder if the Titans going to be able to hang on to this guy. I wonder where he's going to go.
Mhm.
Um, and this is actually a perfect segue because he went to the Browns, and him going to the Browns, like I was already a Nick Chubb manager and in our keeper league that we are in together, and I was all about Nick Chubb last season, like going into the 2020 NFL
And that was
season.
kind of the thing that put you over the top with it, with your opinion on him.
Uh-huh. Well, and
Perfect
then
example. Perfect
and then the
example.
Browns drafted Jedrick Wills. I don't
Okay.
remember what college he played for, but they drafted him to be the left tackle, I believe he is. Because Conklin's a right tackle, I
Correct.
think. Forgive me if I'm getting
It
these
feels
wrong.
right. Conklin feels like he was a right. And yeah. Anyway,
Yeah. Anyways, so like those two guys bookending what was
already
what do I have? It was like the 17th. PFF had him ranked the 17th best. I'm
coming
sorry,
into the big.
23rd in 2019, and they
Gotcha.
moved
Gotcha.
all the way up to first. PFF has ranked the Browns offensive line as the best overall. They were best in pass protection and
Wow.
run blocking.
And look at the
So
results. First playoff berth and how long?
yep.
Man, good for them.
And honestly, like Baker got a little bit better as the year went on
Mm-hmm.
too. There
Yep.
was some struggles at first. He did have some good games, but he really kind of came into his own. And I wonder if that's maybe the offensive line was gelling better as the season went along as far as pass protection.
I think that's it. I think people discount that way too often. The it's hard to get these guys to play together, especially if you're talking about these bad teams that need the personnel turnover. They need 2, 3 new
Yep.
offensive linemen, and now your chemistry is kind of out the window
Yeah,
for the first couple
they went
weeks at
from
least.
23rd. they went from 23rd to first,
Hmm.
and to kind of tickle this little like thing that was going on in my brain that kind of made me intrigued about offensive lines was the Cowboys, how their offensive line got so good, and the Colts too, how they kind of turned it
Perfect.
around within a season as well by getting Quentin Nelson
Yep.
and forgive me, I'm forgetting their center's name.
Oh, I'm
Something
sorry for
Kelly, the Colts. Anyways,
Colts. Sorry.
so yeah. Anyways, so we're talking offensive lines. Our first topic, our first subject here is the Cleveland Browns. I've already talked about them a little bit already. I like that pun that Chris came up with, the shifting focus, like an offensive line shift. Great.
Hmm.
I'm totally giving him credit for that.
Hmm.
Um, oh, it was yours. It was great. I loved it.
I've also been into
Um,
photography a little bit lately, so focus shifting. Yeah.
oh, right. And that's right. What else do we have to say about the Browns here? Uh, Baker, he was the Browns offensive line gave Baker the first they were the first best in pocket time. And pocket time is the time from the time the ball is snapped to the time it is either thrown or the pocket collapses. And Baker had
Okay.
the most time at I'm sorry I didn't write it down, but he had the most time. It was like I believe it was 2.9 seconds on average. So that's pretty good. 2.9 seconds. Like, yeah, that's a good amount of time right there, you
And
know?
I'm sorry, that led the league. He had the most time to
Yep,
hold on to the ball. Okay, great. Yeah. Well, it
yep,
makes sense with the best passing blocking line.
yep. And the offensive line, it was ninth best for he was okay. So Baker was pressured the ninth best at 19% of the time of passes that he dropped back for.
Mhm.
I'm sorry that this will come out better as the episode goes along. I'm tripping over my tongue at the moment. And the offensive line was actually the fourth best in sack rate. They allowed only 1.5 sacks per game. I mean, you're getting
Wow.
sacked only 1.5 times per game. Like, that's good. This offensive line keeps it up. I already love Nick Chubb. I think he's great. I don't like Kareem Hunt being there because I think Nick Chubb is a guy that can do it all. But whatever, that's what the Browns want to do. It's great that they have a guy like Kareem Hunt to spell Nick Chubb and be they seem to get along well too. I don't hear a lot of grumblings of why am I not getting the ball enough or
Correct.
whatever.
Yeah. I feel the
I
same.
think that I think that Chubb and Hunt are in sync with the coaching staff as far as their roles and how much they're getting used. Um I and this offensive line is great. They're tied for fourth is and the fact that they're giving up they're not giving up. They're allowing their running backs to rush for 4.8 yards per attempt. So and
Nice.
that's tied for fourth best.
Hmm.
So and I gotta say, like the yards per attempt thing, like the top was like 5 yards per attempt, and then the bottom was like 3.6. It's not a big disparity, but hey,
Yeah, but
every
when you're
little
talking
bit,
about this kind of statistic, a point,
every
uh,
little bit helps.
yeah, 0.25, point 0.5 is pretty huge.
Yep.
And this just accentuates what you said. I mean, they're really really good.
Yeah.
Do you think Chubb specifically, let's just one question I have on him. Do you think what's his ceiling? Do you think he can be the 101? Like the first player taken in fantasy drafts? Or finish
I
that way,
someone.
should I say? I don't think you have to take
Oh
him at
yeah.
101. I'm just saying,
Oh
can he
yeah.
be the number one running back and potentially the
Yes. Yes. Oh yeah.
yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you.
Definitely. Definitely. Um, you know, I don't wish injury upon anyone, but if Kareem Hunt were to miss time due to injury, yeah, Chubb,
Yeah,
number one running back in fantasy
especially if it
football.
can be just like a little 3-4 week period. Like it doesn't have to be a
And I
catastrophic thing,
think
you
and
know.
I really think that I haven't put pen to paper yet, but I can see that Nick Chubb is going in my rankings, the top
Hmm.
half of the first round easily.
That's
Like
kind of where I'm at.
I don't know how you don't consider him as one of the best running
I'd
backs in the
have to
league at the moment.
see, and we'll get into that definitely this off season and leading up to August and fantasy draft time. But I'd have to see the wide receivers on the board. But yeah, I'm probably right there with you. I don't
Yeah.
know, fifth running back
Um
off the top of my head,
And
maybe.
I would also like to say that like a bad offensive line doesn't make me steer away from a running back necessarily. Like, a sneak
Depends on
preview to
all depends
later
on where
in
I'm
this
getting them.
episode.
Hmm.
A sneak preview to later in this episode, but Austin Eckler, he ran behind the dead last offensive line last season with
And
the
he was
Chargers.
great when he
So
came back from injury.
Yeah, and
Very
he
good.
looked good. Like, he's a very talented running back. So sometimes you just have to draft talent. Now, if you say you're putting David Montgomery behind the worst offensive line, out. Just completely out on
Yeah.
him. You know,
But
I
with
don't
Chubb, you
like
have
you
talent and situation.
exactly.
And that's
You
when you
have those
press
you
draft.
yep, you
Draft.
have those two mesh together and you have success.
Yep. Yep. And hey,
Let's move
maybe
on.
Baker gets a little better.
Yep, let's move on to our second offensive line that we're going to talk about, and that would be the Green Bay Packers. This is a team that's actually had a pretty darn good offensive line for the last couple of years now.
Mhm.
Aaron Rodgers, it helps that Aaron Rodgers is a very mobile guy. He definitely has amazing elite pocket awareness. I mean, I don't know. It's like this guy has spider sense or something.
Well said. Manipulates the pocket like Brady, just so well.
Yeah,
Brady's
it's
slower
yeah.
foot. I'm just saying, just the way they just float in the pocket is
Um,
great.
the Packers offensive line is PFF has ranked them as the second best. As I mean, despite them having some injuries, David Bakhtiari, I believe it's how you pronounce his name, got injured towards the end of the season, but um, he was named first team All Pro.
Nice.
Elgton Jenkins, he had to move around a lot this season. He played left. He is normally a left guard, but he had to play left tackle, right guard, center. This
Wow.
at
Position
points this
flex.
season too. He was voted to be a Pro Bowler this season, along with Corey Linsley. I'm sorry, Corey Linsley was also named first team All Pro as well. So yeah, you got three Pro Bowler slash first team All Pro guys on your offense line. You're gonna be one of the best.
Hmm.
You know. Um, Aaron Rodgers was only sacked 1.4 times per game. That's his fourth best. 1.4 times per game. That's not bad.
Top
Um,
5.
yeah, the Packers tied for third as far as the best pocket time. Once again, is I didn't write it down, but whatever. They were tied as far as rushing attempts per game or rushing yards per attempt, which is at 4.8, same as the Browns. That helped Jamal Williams, Aaron Jones, to a much lesser extent, AJ Dillon,
Hmm.
but whatever. Um, and he was only pressured, and they ranked first as far as percentage of pressured per dropback at 14.4%. So 14.4% of the time Aaron Rodgers was throwing the ball, he was under pressure. That's darn good.
Amazing. Yeah.
Considering the worst is it was
Amazing.
somewhere around like 35% of the time. And that was once again Justin Herbert. I almost want to call him Joe Burrow. Um,
You should just start
but it
calling
was
him
Justin
Herbie
Herbert.
like I do.
I know 35%, like almost 35% of the time, Herbie was under pressure to throw the ball. So, and he was still rookie of the year. That's, gives you- anyways,
Impressive.
yeah, that's about all I got here. I mean, I think every one of these guys is due to return to the Packers next season as well, if memory serves correct. So Aaron Rodgers is once again going to have a very good offensive line, and whoever their running back is going to be, because it sounds like the Packers aren't willing to pay top dollar for Aaron Jones. Hey,
Whoops.
um, that's all right. So whatever if it's going to be AJ Dillon slash Jamal Williams or whatever they come up with to be their running back core next season, they're going to have a good line to run behind.
Yep.
And I will. I'd like to see how it swings. I think they're going to probably draft another running back and cut Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams loose into free agency. So we'll see what they do. We'll see.
Reload.
Yep. I love Aaron Jones and I think he's a really good running back. And part of the reason he's a really good running back is because of this offensive line.
Absolutely.
But I just don't think the Packers want to give him, $10 million a year or
Well, they're
whatever
paying
salary he's
they're
gonna go.
paying Adams and Rogers, so
Exactly. They're paying
and then these
Adams,
offensive
Rodgers,
linemen must be getting a
and
decent
they
chunk of change.
and oh boy. Jair Alexander has got to be
Oh,
up for a new
defensive side of the
contract
ball,
soon.
absolutely, yeah.
Yep. So yeah. Let's move on to the third team we're going to talk about here, and that would be the Los Angeles Rams.
All
The Los
right.
Angeles Rams.
That's me,
Um,
folks.
yep,
Go
this
ahead.
is Chris, but they have one of the off. I know they have one of the youngest offensive lines in football because I mean there are a lot of like 20 somethings on there, and then
And that's with
and
Whitworth.
then Grandpa Whitworth.
Yeah, that's
If you see
crazy.
a picture of him, he has a lot of gray in his beard. He's 39, so that's gonna happen. I hope in 3 years when I hit 39, more like two really.
Yeah, I just wish it'd just do it.
It,
I wish it'd just go for it
um,
at this point.
but I mean,
Meaning
I hope
my.
that I don't have as much gray as he does. Oh
Oh, you hope
boy,
you
he
don't.
is.
Okay.
Yeah, he looks like Santa Claus, man.
Is
Anyways, why don't you take it away with the
He's on the
Rams here?
right, and he's on the right side of that picture there. Yeah. So Rams, as you can see on the screen, we've got them as the number 3 rank in PFF, and that
Hmm.
they're good top to bottom, and particularly at the tackles, as Josh alluded to there. Let's see. We've got Austin Blythe at center with a PFF grade of 70.3. Go Hawks.
Hmm. Yep.
PFF grade for the guards: Austin Corbett 73.4, David Edwards 70 and a half. And then the tackles, as I mentioned, Whitworth 86.8, Havestein 80.6, and then I believe Noteboom is a backup at 60.3. So that's the
Yep.
PFF ranks. Not surprised, as you can see their overall rank there. Sky's the limit as far as Sean McVay seeming to settle on Cam Akers as the primary ball carrier. The huge upgrade at quarterback that we've talked about with Matthew Stafford. The pair of Pro Bowl receivers and a defense that can dominate, and a top 5 offensive line. So I don't know what there's not to love about these fantasy assets on this offense. Yes, defensive dominance and offensive line play is hard to replicate every year, even without big time personnel changes. It's just hard to get that type of production every single year. But if there's a team that can do it, it's the team that has Aaron Donald and Whitworth and
Yeah.
Matthew Stafford at the helm.
Here's the one thing I want to throw
Mhm.
into your conversation about the Rams is that they went from like 23rd, I think, as far as PFF's rank after the 2019 season to number 3. And
Whitworth was
and a
already
lot of it's
there.
the same. A lot of it is, I think a lot of it, if memory serves correct, a lot of it is the same personnel. So
Blythe has been there. I know that.
did this personnel finally gel together, or is this just going to be a 1 year anomaly? Question mark. I don't know.
Hmm. Hmm. Could have
It's
been
going
a
to be
big
kind of hard to
coaching
say
change in terms of coordinator or
for
literally
sure.
offensive line coach. I mean, I again that digs pretty deep. I don't like to go too deep for sake of content, but yeah, I look at that stuff sometimes when I see something changing drastically in the offensive line performance. Sure, defense also. So yeah, that's where I'm at with the Rams. Me and you both shared our excitement for Stafford's arrival. I think he's just that much better than Goff. He's gonna, even if they are down, you've always got Stafford to fall back on. I don't expect them to be down with this defense and this offensive line, but yeah. So the big kind of, I think, the other 3 main pieces are the 2 receivers and Cam Akers as the running back. Those are the pieces you want. Cam Akers could have a great year. Also, just kind of a side note, the tight end. There, I think, was rumors about, forgive me, Gerald Everett might be gone, so Higbee might get more snaps.
Mhm.
And you know that's worth mentioning. I'm not saying Stafford is terribly fond of the tight end, but could be more opportunity for Higbee. So that's all I've got for the Rams.
Yeah, it'll be interesting with Stafford moving to get offensive off of offensive lines
I want to
for a
watch this
second.
team a lot next year. Chargers and Rams, I'm very high on.
Uh-huh. Both those LA teams. You might as well play going back to Cali or whatever, the Biggie song,
They've
and
done very well for themselves in the
yeah.
past. What? It's only been like 2 years now. It hasn't been that long that they've been in LA. The 2 of them.
Yeah. I'm just trying to look at some stats here. I mean, not a very good pocket time that they've allowed for Goff, but I mean it's 2.4. So the difference in pocket time as far as
Mm-hmm.
first versus last is a half a second. But a half a second's a long time when you're talking about the team that allowed the best amount of pocket time is 2.6 seconds,
Yeah, and then you add in a increase in
Yeah.
talent at the quarterback position, maybe that number does improve by 0.2 or 3. And now it's close to the
Yeah,
league
I
leader.
mean, I like this pocket time stat because sometimes it can be like some stats it can be fudged a little bit by this um the fact that maybe the quarterback just holds on to the ball a little too long or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah, it
But
could be a negative, sure.
for sure, but I mean, if your offensive line is allowing your quarterback to have 2.6 seconds, that's pretty good.
Agreed.
Anyways, what's our next team? I'm sorry, my memory is escaping me. Our next team would be the Dallas
My
Cowboys, of course,
my
because Chris is the biggest Dallas Cowboys fan on this podcast.
on this podcast.
Show,
Yes, that is true.
show, whatever.
That is true.
I didn't want to say the world because I'm like, well, I'm sure there's some idiot out there that is just
Yeah, I like to think
some
my
super fan. I'm sorry, not idiot, but some just giant super fan. That's yeah.
paints his house blue and silver. Yeah, I'd like to think my exposure to fantasy and particularly Dynasty over the last several years is maybe a little less biased,
No,
but it's still my hometown team.
yeah.
Um, where
Even though
were
you're
we?
not from
Where were
Dallas.
we? Cowboys could be in trouble depending on the health of an All-Pro and some young pieces. While the Cowboys, I'm sorry, PFF ranked number 27. So as you'll
Mhm,
see
mhm,
why for
mhm,
a couple
mhm.
of good reasons here in just a second. The Cowboys might be in trouble if they don't get better play immediately out of the Connors. Connor Williams, second round out of Texas, and Connor McGovern, third round out of Penn State. I think back-to-back years, if memory serves. They might have uncovered Jim and Tyler Bleodish. I don't know how to say it. Fourth
I
round out of
I
Wisconsin.
always struggle with like I'll be walking
Bleodish.
through
Bleodish is how I've heard it
yeah,
pronounced,
right.
which
I've
is
been like walking through the halls at work and been like, how do you say that guy's name again? It looks like Bayadaz or
I've
something,
heard
but
it's
apparently
pronounced
it's
by Cowboys.com dudes. So Bleodish is what I've heard, but it doesn't look
I,
like that's how you
I'm going
pronounce
with
it.
it, man. Biotish, like I have to
Bleodish.
stop and think and like literally stop walking and be like, how does he say his
Biotish. I'm surprised I
Is it
remembered.
Biotish?
So they might have covered a couple gems. Biotish, fourth round out of Wisconsin. Terrence Steele at tackle, undrafted, 2020 out of Texas Tech. Still, the O line is in a bit of disarray. Besides Zach Martin, a perennial All Pro and will be a Hall of Famer. This is where the bright spot lies. Martin moved out to tackle twice last year and was spectacular. Literally, the guy could make All Pro at guard or tackle. That's how good he is. So it's a matter of what they see coming through the door in terms of free agency and draft and where Martin slots in, because the big question mark I mentioned at the beginning of this is Tyron Smith out at left tackle. Again, perennial All Pro, but the last couple of years he's been back
Hmm.
issues. I mean, we're talking about bigger fellas here, so it's not uncommon for a big man to have back or knee
There's
issues.
some big old fellers there.
Yeah, yeah. And the thing with Tyron too, that I find very important to mention, that he's always been battling nagging injuries, but he's always been tough as nails. He makes his calling card. Yes, he's very good schematically. He's very good. He's very well coached, but he is an athletic freak at offensive line, at tackle. And, just that type of, it's like what's the term for a horse? Not a fine bred, a
Thoroughbred.
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 It's like a thoroughbred receiver. They have a couple hamstring pulls, real bad ones throughout their careers.
And then we
Suddenly,
have to put him down?
no,
What?
no,
Dude,
don't,
you can't just kill people.
don't get me wrong. No,
Oh man, you're a monster.
and sometimes you say, well, that receiver or that lineman had a step or two to lose, and he's still very good. Well, I don't know with Tyron Smith. Like, I think it might have sapped him of a lot of his physical prowess, and that's what he made his calling card on. He was was a physically dominant player at that position. So keep that in mind. We
Yeah.
want to wait and see what happens with him. We could see a retirement. We could see a 2-year contract. I really don't know. It doesn't look great, and from the outside looking in. I know this is and will be a theme, but I think in the majority thinking with a healthy Dak, the Cowboys offense will be great. So I still err on the side of valuing these fantasy pieces despite some of my misgivings about the offensive line. Obviously, there's the receivers. They speak for themselves, and Josh and I are hoping to see a Pollard breakout next season. But if not, maybe we get a healthier Zeke, at least at the beginning of the year. So again, I think the fantasy pieces are still among the most valuable in fantasy, quite frankly, if we get a healthy Dak. The last little tidbit I wanted to mention was I'm already planting my flag squarely in Blake Jarwin. No, not like that. On Blake Jarwin. No, I like the opportunity we see here. I think he's going to be undervalued
What are you
because
trying to impale him on a flagpole, dude? That's messed up.
this
You're
this
trying to you're trying to put the receivers down for a simple hamstring injury. You're
all,
impaling Blake Jarwin on a flagpole.
all my all my
What's going on over there,
all
man?
my negative
You're doing all right. Like you seem to be in kind of a dark place at the moment.
all my negative emotions are coming out for my opinion on the Cowboys because I'm so distraught.
Apparently, talking about murdering.
No, but I think Jarman's going to be a value. I think he's going to be undervalued. We forgot about him. He was hurt just about all year long, and plus so was Dak. So I think people are going to forget about him. And unless we see a name come in from free agency or the draft, I think he's the guy. And again, this is a lot of points to go around in this fantasy offense. Let's just hope we see a healthy Tyron Smith and or some influx of talent through free agency or draft, and that's where I'm at with the Cowboys O line.
Cool. Let's move on to number 5 on our list, ranked number 30 by PFF. It is the Cincinnati Bengals. Man, this team, I got to say the Bengals have had some consistency on their offensive line. They were ranked 30th this year. They were ranked 30th in 2019 too. It's like they started the 2020 season. They looked at PFF. They're like, 30th. I bet we can do that again. And they did.
Yeah,
Good job. Way to
Looks
set
like
the
they could
bar
use a
super low.
Looks like they could use a bigger center. I know centers are the smallest
For
of the group.
sure.
He looks like a linebacker, man.
I mean, that might not actually be their center.
Oh,
it
could be special teams or something. It's their long snapper.
I don't know. I just googled Bengals offensive line pictures. And
I'm sticking with it.
That was the best one that I came up with.
I think they're standing in order going to this line of scrimmage. I think that is the center.
I think
But
so.
anyway, let's go ahead.
Anyways, so the Bengals, they at times this season it wasn't a good season for them. They really failed to protect Joe Burrow. I'm not going to say they got him injured because injuries can be very fluky, but yeah, they had 10 different players play at least 200 snaps this season. That is crazy. Wow. Yeah. They allowed the second most sacks at 32. So yeah, Joe Burrow took a little bit of a punishment this season. They were also tied for 5th most, allowing their quarterback, whether it was Burrow or whoever the backups were. I'm not even gonna recognize their names. 42 times that their quarterback was hit. That was tied for 5th most.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't want this to be happening to Joey B here, man. Like you gotta protect this guy. And I've seen this in some mock drafts, and I really hope that this is the case. But I've seen the Bengals being projected to take
tackle.
Let me find his name here. It's that tackle out of Oregon. Oh yeah, Penei Sewell. I actually Googled how to pronounce his name because it looks like Penei or whatever. But
Penei like the pasta.
Penei like the pasta, not spelled the same way. Sewell. I don't know where that name comes from, but I like it.
I feel like they have a large Samoan presence up there, and that sounds like a Samoan name. Yeah, I don't know why. And particularly at that college, I feel like there's like, what's the quarterback?
Anyway,
go ahead.
This isn't college football talk. This is.
I know.
I have no idea what
he's in the NFL
is.
now. He played for Tennessee. He was drafted right after Jameson.
Justin Herbert?
No, Tennessee. Anyway,
Marcus Mariota.
Thank you. I believe he's Samoan, and there's been others.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I'm speculating. Continue.
I don't know if that's right, dude. You might want to verify that before you continue on with this down this rabbit hole.
With this narrative.
Burrow was pressured 24.1% of the time. That is 13th worst. I mean, it just like you keep going down the line here of these stats. I mean, we're getting into that territory. Like this is the 3rd worst offensive line. You know, if they grab Penei Sewell, which is supposed to be like a can't miss sort of draft pick, they've invested. That would be great. They've invested some draft picks into this offensive line too. They've had injuries, which hasn't helped. I'm hoping that this, the last stat that I have is that they've only allowed 4.1 rushing yards per attempt. That's not very good. Some of
Mhm.
that number could be the fact that Joe Mixon missed part of the season. So, you get a supposedly elite level running back. I say supposedly because it's hard to say. He hasn't been exactly the picture of health the last 2 years. I think some of it too is just like I don't want to run behind that offensive line. They're killing me. They're murdering me.
Take a couple days off.
It is a slow murder running behind this offensive line. Like it is just oh man, they're not doing their job to protect Joe Burrow or make holes for
Mixon.
Joe Mixon. Hey, I just realized that there are a couple of Joes, just a couple of Joes hanging out
Just a
behind that
couple of
offensive
regular
line.
Joes just hanging out here trying to score fantasy points for you
A
behind this
couple of elite
awful
level
offensive line.
athletes that are regular Joes.
I think there might be a fair
Anyways,
bit of blame to go around for, because we just happened to be talking about Herbie too. Like, I think there's a fair amount of blame for maybe holding on to the ball too long because they're a rookie and they don't necessarily see
could
the
be.
progressions 100%, but yet they're athletic enough to get out
Yep.
some of the
Yep.
time. So
Let's move on to number 6 on our list, which is number 31 on PFF's list of offensive lines. And we're getting into that very offensive line territory. 31st, New York Giants. What the heck, man? They took I gotta say that their season was kind of doomed from the get-go.
for sure.
Their right tackle Nate Solder opted out for the season. Not that actually might have could have been. You could speculate that would have been better for them because in 2019 he allowed the most quarterback hits, I believe, out of any right tackle. So there's that. But I think a lot of this is not very good coaching too, because they turned around. They took Andrew Thomas to be their, I believe, left tackle in the first round last year, and he allowed at 57 allowed the most quarterback pressures, like by far and away. It was like 17 more than second
Good
place or something
Lord.
like that. Yeah. I mean, I liked the fact that the Giants drafted Andrew Thomas because I liked it for Saquon. Oh, he got injured, fine, but I
Right.
liked it for maybe pairing him with then Solder and Will Hernandez, who they spent a second round pick on.
I like Hernandez.
2017. Yeah, don't like him too much because he's also allowing a lot of quarterback pressures as well.
Yeah, I
So
feel like the run blocking is his strength.
they have a lot of money and draft capital invested in this offensive line, and they just haven't been able to put it together. And I think they just need a new offensive line coach or something, or maybe they're just swinging and missing on these players too. I have no idea what's going on there, but man, they are tied for third to last in pocket time. So 2.5 seconds allowed per pass. That's not good. Daniel Jones was pressured on 30.3% of his dropbacks, which is tied for fourth worst.
Wow.
Or fourth most. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
It's not good. It's not good.
Not good.
30% of the time you're getting pressured. Yeah, that's mix that together with a not the greatest receiving core out there. A young quarterback. Yeah,
You're gonna
hey,
struggle.
NFL teams that may be watching or listening to this show, you can't draft a quarterback that you think is going to be your future. He's not going to have a future behind a bad offensive line.
Yeah. Both those teams.
Come on.
LA and
who knows what Mitch
Cincinnati.
Trubisky could be behind a better offensive line. I'm not saying Mitch Trubisky would be great. I'm just saying, who knows?
Give
He
him a
could
chance.
actually be really good. Instead, he's running around for his life, and I'm sorry, we're not talking about the Chicago Bears, but man, same with Daniel Jones. Like he's running around for his life because he doesn't have any protection.
It's hard to evaluate, in particularly the quarterback position, particularly when they're running around for their lives.
Yeah.
Ask any scout, coach.
When you're like I was saying about the Bengals, when you're behind a slow murder that's happening to you because your offensive line isn't protecting you, like you're out there
Wears
getting
you
killed.
down. Yeah, wears you
Yep,
down.
it wears you down.
Both
It's gotta
physically
wear
and
down
mentally.
your resolve too. Yeah, like you just said, mentally. Like you just
to the best
oh,
of them
man.
too. I mean, I'm not trying to make excuses for these dudes. I'm just saying there's only so much you can do about your mental state of motivation when brick wall, run into brick wall, butt fumble after butt fumble, God.
Oh, that butt fumble. Oh my.
Oh man, it was a big one.
I'm gonna have when we get done with this, I'm gonna have to go and watch it. It's like if you're in a bad mood, go look at the video of the butt fumble. Puts you
Yes.
in a great mood.
Yes, yes. Not so much for Mark
Not
Sanchez, but
yeah.
he's had
R.I.P.
his
Mark Sanchez.
he's had his enough butt fumbles to last a lifetime. All right, next.
Let's move
Oh,
on to our poor Herbie. I almost called him Joe Burrow again. Cheapers. Obviously this is during the national anthem, I'm assuming.
mhm.
Um, yeah, these jokers right here, man.
Yeah, it's not pretty. I'll go ahead and
Why don't you
spoiler alert.
why don't you take us away with the Chargers here?
All right. If you don't recall, I ended last week's show gushing about the potential of the Chargers' new coaching staff and offensive weapons. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
as you can see on the screen there, PFF has them dead last, 32. So yeah, it's amazing what Justin Herbert managed to accomplish behind this offensive line. Now, this has been a theme over a couple of teams. You've heard that it kind of takes a perfect storm to be dead last or 30th or 28th. Like young quarterback, injuries, bad defense, bad coaching. It can really add up. And so I'm not saying these guys are good, but I'm also not saying they're as bad as these numbers appear. Let's touch on some of that individually with these PFF ranks. At tackle, we have Brian Bulaga, who was okay. He was banged up a bit, but 61.6.
He's always banged up, and B,
Yep.
he was an All-Pro with the Packers, so or
Was he an
a
all
Pro Bowler
pro?
with the Packers,
I think just
a
one
Pro
Pro Bowl.
Bowler,
Yeah, I think one
Pro
time.
Bowler.
I think he made one.
What?
I
All
think
right, you looked at it. You keep going.
are you thinking of Bakhtiari?
Oh,
Okay. Brian Bulaga, he's definitely an established NFL vet.
go Hawkeyes.
They picked him up. Go Hawkeyes. Picked him up a couple of year before last. So he
Yep.
was okay. Pipkins tackle 54.8. Sam Tevy 52.9 onto the guards and centers. Forrest Lamp 49.4. Trey
I love Lamb.
Turner. I love Lamp. Trey Turner 34.8. Are you serious? And then Feeney. I think a Wisconsin kid, 48.2. So just bad across the board, except for Bulaga, who is respectable. Again, hurt. Fun tidbit. Both of the Pouncey brothers, Mike Pouncey was in San Diego the last couple of years. Both of them retired a week ago, along with
You mean Los Angeles?
Los Angeles Chargers. Both of them retired a week ago. Both Pounceys done. Isn't
Yeah.
that crazy? So you lose Pouncey. Sure, Bulaga was okay, but then you lose Pouncey. Now what? Where do you turn? So seems to have decimated this PFF last ranked squad, but I wonder if it's the case of the defense and a rookie quarterback doing the O-line no favors. Nonetheless, they need improvement ASAP. We did touch on it in our coaching episode about the defensive-minded. Oh, forgive me, I just blanked on his name. Staley's his last name, I believe, came from the Rams.
Mm-hmm.
That coach,
Brandon.
thank you, for the Chargers should help perhaps the defense side of the ball, and maybe that'll help improve the offensive line production. I'm not sure who steps up at center.
I think they're gonna have to draft
Trey
someone.
Turner was a 5-time Pro Bowler. Trey Turner at
I
right
don't see
guard was a
Brian
5-time.
Bulaga getting any Pro Bowl things
I don't think
according
he
to
got any.
Wikipedia.
I don't think he got any. I don't think he's ever been a Pro Bowler.
I wonder if it was because of injury, because he was constantly missing a game or two here and there for the
Yep.
Packers.
I think it was injury and overshadowed by some other guys on that Packers offensive line. Forrest Lamp at second round of Western Kentucky and Dan Feeney, third round out of Indiana, were taken back to back by the Chargers in 2017. Both are free agents. And they weren't even that good. Free agency will be key for the Chargers fantasy hype train to continue, as far as I'm concerned, because I don't think you can do all this through draft. I think you need to pick up some vets.
Yeah, you're going to have to.
And you're going to have to pay up, because if you haven't noticed, especially at tackle, veteran startable offensive linemen are hard to come by in the NFL. Like it's not that easy. That's why it's important to draft young ones.
When the Browns picked up Jack Conklin last year in free agency, I was like, wow, dude, that is impressive.
Again,
like
perfect example.
Teams don't normally let Pro Bowl tackles or
money,
offensive linemen walk away, because usually you can pay them, like an okay amount. And yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what PFF has for. Oh yeah, Trent Williams is up for free agency. Like that's what
That's a
I
big
want the
one.
Colts to get him, but
He's the one who sat out the year with Washington or whatever. Trent Williams, right?
no, he just played with the 49ers this past season.
Oh, that's right. They ended up getting him last minute, if memory serves.
And he was the best tackle according to Pro Football Focus, the #1 tackle.
Wow. I mean, I knew he was good.
Yeah.
I didn't know he came up the best this year. Okay. So that's your Chargers, folks.
Yeah.
If you've tuned into our past 2 shows, you've gotten your fair share of Chargers coverage.
Well, I mean, we like the Chargers. What can I say? You know, like we were on Herbert from more or less day one. You know,
Always
I mean,
been an Eckler fan.
I watched his first game, and I fell in love with him. You know, like one of these days he'll actually acknowledge my existence and accept my marriage proposal. But you know,
I would love to
then,
see some real NFL
I will love him from
success
afar.
for the Chargers, which would only, you know.
Hey man, they made it to a Super Bowl once.
No, I mean the past few years. Like it's been, yeah.
Do you remember that Super Bowl?
Catastrophic.
It was an embarrassment. It was embarrassment.
Like, yeah.
They did not belong there.
That was back in the 90s when the NFC was
96, I believe.
Yeah. It's a year that Cowboys didn't three-peat because it was San Francisco versus San Diego. At the time, San Diego.
And yeah,
here's a name for you: Natron Means. That's who their running back was. Quarterback was Stan. The Chargers. Natron Means was their bruising running back.
I love that. I love that name.
And their quarterback, Stan Humphries. I'm not going to be able to pull it.
Spell it with a Stan.
Spell it with a umph.
Spelled with a Stan.
Spelled with Stan. I'm really trying to remember the #1 receiver. I feel like it's on the tip of my tongue, but I don't think I'm going to get it.
I have no idea. I wasn't even really a football fan back then.
I'm going to read it after we get off the air, and I'm going to kick myself for not remembering it. I'm old, folks. Spoiler alert.
This guy's old. It's
true.
I mean,
we talked about my Dallas fandom, so you know I was a fan in the '90s when they had their huge success. But I digress.
Man. All right. That's been our show for today. I mean, like it's a shorter show than usual, which is cool. You know, it's kind of I find this topic very interesting, but maybe not everyone does. We'll be back. We're going to take next week off, I believe, but we'll be back the week after that for some free agency talk. I'm sure that'll be a free agency craziness like there always is.
It's gonna be awesome.
There's already been some craziness with the Colts acquiring Wentz and whatever. Who knows? And between now and then, if something really, really crazy happens, I'll pop in and be like, "Hey, everyone, this is Josh from Amazing Fantasy Football," and blah 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 blah.
Just like that.
That's exactly what I'll say, and everyone's gonna be like, "Why did he didn't make any sense?" I think he had a stroke on camera.
Yeah, we'll take a week off and then come back free agency, and then
we'll come back strong.
Yeah, and then I don't know when's the trade deadline. NFL trades have been. I'm not sorry, not the trade deadline. When is trading open? NFL trades have been more exciting the last 2 or 3 years. It's they've changed some rules, I think, and it's kind of promoted it a little bit more. It used to be non-existent, dude. Come on. I mean,
there for the longest time it was non-existent.
You remember everybody freaking about Trent Edwards, especially as a Colts fan. Like that's not really such a big deal now anymore. Like a guy of that, you know what I mean? Like I don't know.
I don't think you said the right name.
Trent Richardson. I said Edwards, didn't I?
Yeah. I'm like,
Trent
what's a quarterback?
What? Yeah, is that Trent Edwards? Yeah. That's wow. He
was a quarterback for the Chiefs at one point, I think. Anyways,
I
am also old. I'm not old as dirt like this guy right here, but also old too. You're tuning into a couple of old folks just talking about football.
A couple of folks who know their fantasy football. Thank you very much.
Yeah. I mean, is there ever an old folks talk? If there ever was one, if we're talking about offensive lines, like that's just old people talk right there.
Oh, like boring and.
It's not boring. I like it. I don't think it's boring
at
all.
Too.
But
I do too. I'm saying you're saying the way people look.
I'm sure there's some 20-year-old being like, these guys don't know what they're talking about.
They don't score fantasy points from offensive line.
Well, I can't be drafting an offensive lineman. I don't know
No,
why.
I think Chubb is
Why
a
my
perfect
20-year-old sounds
example.
like a Southern person, but
Yeah, I think Chubb's a perfect example of you hitting on a guy because of looking at the details. Yeah, that's exactly what this
yeah.
is.
But I mean, like you get a better offensive line for the Chargers, man. I mean, that helps Herbie, that helps
I'm
Eckler.
about saying, going
You
back to the
know,
Chargers, we talked, I think maybe off air about the Colts and the Cowboys turning around their offensive lines, a handful of years ago,
hmm
quickly. So, let's keep hope out there for the Chargers and what happens on that side of things.
I want to
I do, I do.
believe.
I want some Eckler, man. I want Eckler to be like my MVP in Dynasty. Ugh, it's gonna be so great. Healthy.
Anyways,
Uh,
and
me,
until a couple weeks from now, we have been Amazing Fantasy Football. You can email us at amazingffb@gmail.com, or you can check out Chris on his Twitch channel. That is twitch.tv/hardware dynasty, where he builds PCs and does some gaming and whatnots. And yeah,
it's a
by
blast.
emailing us, you can just say, "Hey, what's up?" Or you can ask for an invite to our Discord server, which will also be in show notes and all that stuff. If you haven't been watching us on YouTube, you can watch us on YouTube. If you have been watching us on YouTube, you can also check us out in podcast format at all the usual podcast format places, wherever you get your podcasts. Until then,
Give us a like, subscribe.
yep, you can subscribe us. You can also leave comments in the YouTube thing too. I try and comment back if people do. Our good friend Wonder Tech loves to leave us comments, and we love him for it. So
Yes.
until next time, everyone, stay safe, wear a mask, and have a good day.
Later, y'all.